AMS2 just got its 1.6.4.2 update, and it brings in multiple interesting things. So today we are going to check these out. So to start with, we are in Automobilista 2. Let's review the car and track pack, which is the Adrenaline Pack Part 2. And if I recall correctly, all people who own the season pass, the season pass from 2020 to 2022 or something like that, that one includes this pack. So what it includes is this, the Super Trophy Truck. And why it's called the Super Trophy Truck and not the Stadium Super Truck is because of the licensing issue which happened. And if you don't know what that was, it was Razer having discussions, then the discussion stagnated, so they got a bit, as I see it, fed up, so they made their own version. And here it is. So it's quite a bouncy truck. You can correlate this to sort of a off-road, like Baja truck or something like that. So it has quite a lot of quite high ride heights. It has quite a lot of protection against striking the front, and it's designed for jumps and stuff. So that's what we're going to try today. And if we check, there are 12 of these Stadium Trophy Truck layouts. And I won't be showing you all of them, because they're a hell of a lot. But what we can do is try what I believe is the most famous version layout, which is Long Beach. So let's get in here and have a drive. And I know a lot of people might be a bit skeptical over this truck because they don't feel like it's maybe that useful to spend resources on, but I can tell you a lot of people, all of the people I've talked to, they might not see it as a serious thing, but they see it as a very fun thing. So now, let's get started. So by driving here only, quickly, you can see the front left loves to tip up. And that's really quite realistic actually, because these cars, it's to do with the rotational force, rotational inertia, or something like that. If you have too much torque into the engine, that's something which happens. And if you watch the real ones, that happens to them quite a bit. So you can see here, the rear loves to step out. So what I like to do for these cars, okay, so this one is quite tricky, a lot trickier than I remembered. But what you want to do is try and keep the throttle on without lifting it a lot. And also try and, when shifting down, you can heel and toe to increase the help. But the big thing would be yeah, that's the big thing, but you can't just flip the throttle like I do. And there was one of the jumps. So that's like the main thing about this car, is the jumps. That's actually quite the fun part in my opinion about these trucks. I really like them because you can just jump with them and have a lot of fun. Also, they are tricky enough to not just feel like something super easy to just drive around with. So I feel like, I mean, there's not a lot of talking to with this car, but let me talk about some other things which were in this update, mainly physics. Okay, so now we're around Monza in the Lamborghini GT3 Gen 2, because the big thing with this update has been tire physics, and this thing which I'm going to talk about these cars, can be, in my opinion, generally applied to GT3 Gen 2 and LMP2s and also the LMDH cars, the GTP. And I hope that I can show you when getting out of here. You saw there? The car was very stable. And that's the main big thing about this new update with the physics. And that is the stability when coming out of the corner, because usually the TC had quite a few issues. I even made a very long video on what I feel like could have been the cause. And now, after they have done some work, don't think they did some work on the traction control though, but the cars now pull a lot better and are a lot more stable when exiting a corner. So now it actually feels a lot better and, in my opinion, more realistic. So if you are still a bit skeptical about Automobilista 2 physics, I would try this update and see how you think the GT3 cars feel, because I really like them. And LMP2s too. They feel awesome in my opinion. I was driving with a few guys from one of my Discord servers, and that's also another issue. If you have high engine braking, that can happen where you lose the rear if you do a bit too much trail braking. So that's why I always increase it to 10, because then there is nothing. So where was I? Well, the LMP2 Gen 2, I was driving with a few guys from one of my Discords, the discussion Discord related to Automobilista 2, which the link is in the description. And in there, I talked to a few of them, and they really liked the LMP2's Gen 2s too, because of how it handles. They, or at least one of them, as far as I understand, prefers the handling of a different sim. If I recall correctly, they said LMU. And I've been thinking about that to do with physics and racing. So Automobilista 2 is obviously great, and it's designed to be a very fun experience for a lot of cars. LMU is designed to be a very good experience for only 3 classes as I see it, where you have the hypercar, you have GT3, or technically 4 because you also have GT and LMP2. So it would be sort of expected for LMU to be at the highest standard and to also be the best in terms of handling of those cars. Like how you would expect ACC to be the best at simulating GT cars due to it being a GT car only sim. So it's a bit of expectations versus reality. Whilst in my opinion Automobilista 2 is the best handling wise, but LMU is still quite good in my opinion. And I wouldn't say that it's bad. I wouldn't say any sim is bad. It's just Automobilista 2 for me is the most enjoyable one to drive and talk about. But whilst we're on the topic of physics, I've had a little discussion with someone over in my YouTube comments of my latest YouTube video, talking about how they feel like the Porsche Gen 1 car didn't feel so good around Sebring, I think it was. So I feel like I should try that, document it for you to see if it has actually been a great change for them too, or just for for some specific classes. As I didn't drive this car before this update, I can only judge its handling in this update. But let's see. I feel like that shifting noise is new. I don't know how new though. But let's see. So far it feels quite good actually. I quite like this car. So I don't fully understand what they're talking about, but in my opinion it feels quite good. But let's see the pull out of this corner. Braking performance very good. Yeah, the pull was very nice. I don't fully get it. If you're the person who was commenting with me, please comment down below what the actual thing was. And I will try it again in my personal time to see if it's actually bad in a way, or if you maybe have your settings done a bit incorrectly or just don't like the game. I don't know, there are a lot of factors with driving sims, and most of them boil down to personal taste and setting up. But Sebring is such a lovely track, and this car is actually very nice. Don't fully get what the issue is, and there I lost a lot of time. Not so good, but let's see for this con at higher speed. But I feel like the cars have gotten a lot more stable around this corner. So I feel like the physics changes they have done are a good change. Okay, so it wasn't too slow at least for a first lap. But that's the issue when you're braking a bit too much whilst turning, you will lose it. So that was actually quite fun. But now we are actually leaving Automobilista 2 and heading over to the forum, because here you have the changelog, and if we scroll down, it's not here because it isn't. But I will link to the changelog and the document I'm going to, the development update, down below. So if we talk here, other highlights. As they've done a final round of tire physics developments. Yeah, here. And this is the final one of V1.6. We will see what V1.7 brings. Hopefully not too much performance related, but just fine tuning and other cool things. You have balance of performance, AI, and rolling starts. But now, next up. After this upcoming release, we will start a new development cycle for which endurance racing will once again be back as the primary focus. Some new contenders are expected to join the GTP, this is quite important, GT3 and GT4 classes, including models from a premium manufacturer which will be making its debut in Automobilista 2. Along with the content, other endurance focus, some development. So if we scroll down here, down, new GTP car, that means, and they're saying the Acura. Renato says, does it? Winky face. No, not winky face, whistling, which I can't really do. But we have had long discussions about it, and what we are saying, because he says does it like this, it seems like he's saying no to the Acura idea, or at least this update. And if we go to GTP, there can only be one manufacturer which is left. And that is Aston Martin with their Aston Martin Valkyrie. And another cool thing which has been found in the files, it was a newly added GUI file for an Aston Martin car. So now, since we know this thing about, or we assume we know about the Aston Martin, I wanted to just have a quick talk about the possible cars we could be getting, or in my opinion, should be. So if we just start here with the Aston Martin Valkyrie. So here you have the road version, which would be very cool, but then you also have the race car version, which looks a bit different, but has a naturally aspirated V12 and no electric power, which is very interesting. But this car looks awesome. And what would be even cooler is we are getting this version. And it might not be cooler, but since we're getting one of the liveries, and the liveries are basically identical, someone, if we are making it, could possibly make the version, the WEC version, and then release it on time, because it would be very cool to have both this and this in the game. And then if we're talking GT3s, we can just go here and search GT3. You have the Aston Martin Vantage GT3, which is quite a cool car. And you have the Evo version and you have the non-Evo version to fit both classes. Then you also have a GT4 car, which they released here. So it fits all three categories, and Acura, as far as I know, they fit GTP and GT3. Those are the only ones. But the Acura NSX/Honda NXS is, I don't think, they were used recently, but I don't know how good it was really. So we have to see there. But what what Aston Martin also has, or had, is a very cool GTE car. And this is actually the one which was added to the GUI files, I just remembered. So this would be an awesome car to have in Automobilista too. And if I just want to double check, if we look here, it has a Mercedes 4-liter V8. So what they have are very cool engines, in my opinion. And this car can have very cool liveries too. So this makes the livery possibilities a lot better. But something else about this car, which I really like, or was interested in, was this livery. The Max Verstappen Aston Martin, which would be a very cool thing to add. And if we got the Aston Martin, I will definitely have an eye out and possibly sort of recreate it. I don't know how to do these emblems, but I would at least try to do most of it and then adjust it a bit. But if we go for cars if we think about cars which can also be added, which aren't GTE, which aren't fully proper racing cars, or this is a racing car, but not in the same way that it has a racing series. So here, the Aston Martin Vulcan, or Vulcan, or what you want to call it, which in my opinion is a very cool race car, which I really hope gets added, because I remember Jeremy Clarkson did a video on it and it sounded awesome. So Aston Martin would be a very cool thing to add. But there comes the slight discussion about how can it work with how could the discussions go so quickly. So what we know is they had got the discussions about licensing very far along in 2020. Then they had to do updates, had a few issues with updates as well, so I know. And then the contact broke. And then the person they were talking to left the company. And they've got a new one in, Areza, recently, when roughly at the time, as far as I know, roughly a little beforehand, before I made my video on all of the information he gave us, which is another video on my channel, before that happened, they got in contact with the car, with the manufacturer. And I don't fully remember when I made that video, but if we have a look here now at YouTube, we can get a guess about how long it has been. So if we go to my channel here, Racing Legend, and then videos, you have here 3 weeks ago. And it was before that, so let's say a month. So, what could possibly have happened as far as... And this is, if Aston Martin is coming, this is my guess. We already know about the past. I would say Razer have came in, said, oh, we are here, we want to renegotiate things. Then the guy who was doing the negotiation said, oh, when did you start on of these things? And they got to know each other, and then they figured out that Razer had gotten very far along. And then because they had gotten very far along, the new guy said, oh, you had gotten very far along, let's pick it up from where we started. They changed a few figures due to inflation, due to car manufacturers, and it sounds like they have a deal there. So that would be very cool. But then I heard about an idea, because they said they will add cars which are Italian and not Ferrari. So the Isotta Fraschini could come, the race car, but it wasn't the GTP car, or it didn't race in the GTP class, it raced in WEC, so I'm not fully sure if they have licensed it or not, and I don't know the licensing issue of it. So that would be quite an interesting idea if that comes. But what do you think? Will it be Acura, will it be Isotta, or will it be Aston Martin, or any else? Comment it down below. And whilst you're down there, please hit the like button and also subscribe. My next video, we'll have to see what it's on. Hopefully with the end of... hopefully by us getting close to the end of this cycle, or Renato has a new Ask Me Anything, so that will be a video, maybe not next week, but the week after. So we'll have to see about that. Then before that, we have to see what I make a video on. It can be basically anything. I don't really have an idea. I was thinking AC Evo, but we have to see if I can get it set up. But we also have a different video in the works, which I might have to put on which I might push to get out before next cycle starts, to sort of build up hype for what we might possibly get in the future. But until then, I've been Racing Legend, you've been my amazing viewers. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.